You're listening to Happy Voicing. I'm joined with a very special guest today, someone who you might recognize and love their work. Whether it's from Ultrakill or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, here's Kennady Ray. So I'm joined with a very special guest today, someone that has been doing a lot of stuff on social media and someone who is a prolific voice actor within the community. Can you please introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi there. I'm Kennady Ray. Nice to meet everyone.
So first and foremost, what does being a voice actor mean to you?
I'm so sorry for this, but it just means acting in a 4x4 box. It's not,
I love that.
I grew up doing theater
Yeah,
mostly. And so it just is the same thing, but in a different space with different goals.
yeah, absolutely. When you started your voice acting journey, what was your experience in assimilating or joining the voice acting community?
So that it was an interesting time because I started in 2020, and that's
Yeah,
when a lot of people started at the same time. So there was this like huge influx of like freshman voice actors type situation who
yeah,
were very congregated online. And so in that way, and also because remote recording was, due to the pandemic, becoming much more normalized and really the only way to get a lot of stuff done.
yeah,
Auditions were much more accessible, community was much more accessible. It was much easier to like take certain classes and get to know the right people. I can't imagine that there could have ever been a better time, but
yeah,
also a more challenging time because you had to stand out within the crowd because again, there was that huge influx of people. But
yeah.
um having the theater background that I did have, I was actually like in college for a BFA acting degree, like at the time, and I had taken a semester break when, like, right when the pandemic had hit.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, okay, this is a good time, I guess. Um, and so, but having that experience was really a leg up from a lot of my peers because they were just like, oh, I've always wanted to get into voice acting, so I thought I'd give it a try.
Yeah,
Whereas I had been acting since I was 10 up at that point. So I had
I
a
see.
lot of fearlessness already that a lot of my peers had to spend a year or two unlearning.
Yeah, right. I know
Mhm.
for me personally, I come from a big theater background growing up. And whenever I saw myself like attempting to switch over to voice acting, I noticed that a lot of the strengths that I picked up from acting as a child and acting later on within my life has been something that like immediately felt like very like nurturing and felt very like accompanied. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
It's
there,
very much a transferable skill, especially
yeah,
because, cartoony character voice acting, that requires a fearlessness that a lot of people have only honed in
yeah,
community theater, even like,
yeah.
in a space with other people. And also, like, relationally, understanding what it is like to act in a space with other people really helps you out whenever you are alone in a 4x4 box with like
Yeah.
just a director on the line, being really nitpicky about say it this way, say it that way, which can in some ways like take you out of the
Yeah,
moment and like you're imagining who you're talking to type situation. But when you've had that practice in there, it makes it a whole lot easier.
absolutely. Have you picked up on any advice that truly resonated with you throughout your journey?
Am I allowed to curse?
Sure. Yeah, you can curse.
Fuck it, we ball.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. You again, I guess it's about the freelessness or, but it's just you can't put too much stock into any one particular thing that anybody says. You have
Yeah,
to do what works for you, and you only learn that along the way by trying new things.
yeah,
Fuck it, we ball is it, really.
yeah. Absolutely. With AI becoming more rampant and many companies attempting to convert to more AI practices, which in process steals from human workers, what are some strategies that you practice to make sure you deliver and associate with real human voices?
See, this question confused me a little bit because I
Mm,
get like in order to deliver it, you must associate
yeah,
with the people who hate that shit as much as you do.
yeah,
My husband is the producer of New Blood Entertainment, and he has built an entire company of people who loathe that kind of stuff and work wonderfully creatively together. It is lucrative. They all make money. They're paid very well. Like
yeah.
Their games are very successful. They're human made. They're not like aesthetically pretty. They're not focused on having like that AAA kind of like beautiful, hyper realistic vibe, but it's made by people and people really love the authenticity of that.
Yeah.
There is value in that. And he's surrounded himself with that kind of people that allowed for that kind of success. So there is a market for it. There is drive and want for it. And I don't think that's ever really going to go away. And I actually think the people who are like AI cocksuckers,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
are actually very limited in number as far as like people who really care about the work. If you cared about the work, if you cared about the creativity, if you cared about the art in any like sense in animation, in video games, in acting, you don't give a fuck about
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah. Absolutely. How can young people seeking entry into the business compete with both AI and senior talent?
Oh, good luck.
Yeah.
I think so the issue with that is that entry level like indie voice acting has I wouldn't say gone completely away, but finding like quality paid gigs is a lot more difficult because people who are like working on like their passion project,
Yeah.
like a very small indie thing that's just like letting people like freshly cut their chops, maybe never acted before, things that would usually be posted on like Casting Call Club or maybe twitter.com for
Yeah.
like really small gigs, usually like small like visual novel situations that people will make for oh, what are those like competition things where people
Yeah.
will try to make a video game in like a week? Those are
Yeah.
the things that a lot of voice actors like really cut their chops on. But because their turnarounds are so fast and because they usually don't have any money to spend, those are the people who are now more likely to utilize AI. So
I
the
see.
opportunities are lessened. You hear what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
the best thing that you can do is try to stand out from the crowd and get real world experience in acting by doing some kind of community theater situation,
Yeah.
by trying to get involved with other people, um, cross what's it, cross training yourself, I guess is the
Yeah.
correct phrase. So try to get good at writing or developing or managing, even like try to make yourself a triple threat in some kind of capacity so that you
Yeah.
have extra value to something rather than being just a voice. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Do you think that AI will like eventually, because I know that there's some companies that are starting to like pull back on their AI practices, but there's a lot of like AI that's still being produced. Do you think AI is going to be something in the future that it will always be a worry for voice actors, or do you think eventually we might reach a glory point where their AI is not really considered?
I feel as though the AI bubble will probably burst at some point and
Mhm.
that these programs might not exist, right? Because
Yeah.
even like the Sam Altman, OpenAI, all of that bullshit, they are bleeding money. Like they have taken it from investors and thrown it at the wall and they're not seeing any return on it.
Yeah.
I think eventually it's going to be like the NFT situation. It's just taking longer because big dollar bills has really like gotten a hold of it. And I feel
Yeah.
like that would be the case in the creative industry, most especially because large corporations and like even the medical field are really pushing for the use of AI, and that can have some practical purposes in a very limited capacity. So I feel like
Yeah.
it will exist, but it will not be as valuable to the creative side of anything. Like even like Sora or was Sora? I
Yeah.
forget,
Yeah.
like the
Sora.
video, the one that created people.
Yeah.
Um, created people. Let's not
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
too heavy. The
That's
robot
true.
fake people. Like they like shut down their side of that completely. And even what was the video game that really incorporated AI voice
Oh,
lines so that they wouldn't have to
I think Arc
was it Arc
Raiders?
Legends?
Yeah,
Arc
Arc
Raiders,
Raiders.
yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, oops, that was a mistake. Never mind, we're not doing that anymore. After
Yeah.
they had caused such a fucking fuss over it to begin with. God,
Yeah.
I hate them so much for that. But at least they, came to their senses. I feel like more and more of that is what's going to happen. People are going to try it. They're going to realize it's dog shit. They're going to realize it's actually, in some cases, more expensive than having a voice actor. Our session fees are so cheap. They get
Yeah.
us for 4 hours, bro. And I've
Yeah.
been in sessions where I'm not just playing one character. They're pushing me to get things out and through as fast as possible. That's how every session always is because they want the most bang for their buck. They're squeezing every drop of us as it is. They don't need
Yeah.
AI. They're fine.
Yeah,
They'll realize it.
absolutely. What preparation do you see as most helpful for the field? So this can either be preparing like warm-ups, or like how do you mentally prepare yourself either in the auditioning process, in the recording process, or just like putting yourself out there.
Mm, I mean, there's always, drink a lot of water the day before you intend to record so that
Yeah.
you won't have as many mouth clicks, which is super important because editing out mouth clicks is possible, but it's a pain in the ass. It takes
Yeah.
forever. And it is noticeable in your audition when you send it in that your mouth is clicky. You don't want that to happen. Stay
Yeah.
hydrated, obviously, easy one. Um, I tend to play like sexy, scary villains a lot,
Yeah.
which requires my voice to be in a naturally low part of my register. You hear how I'm talking, my voice is like very nasally and in the front of my face.
Yeah.
So I have to do a lot of warm-ups in order to like pull the elevator down and try to
Yeah.
get to where I need to be. So ideally have an understanding of what you want. Like if you're being called into a session and they're going to ask you to record a bunch of different things, which always happens, a bunch of different, totally different characters based off
Yeah.
usually of your demo. Warm up that whole register so that you are adequately prepared to be an instrument. And if you're not adequately prepared, they're going to be like, what did they even call you in here and pay for your 4 hours for?
I
They're
see.
going to find you to be useless, and they're not going to call you back if you're not ready to do everything.
Yeah, I see. Has there been a role for you or a project for you that has been especially rewarding to you?
So that one's really interesting, and I was excited to talk about this because it's a thing that happens a lot. My favorite project that I've ever recorded has never seen the light of day.
Wow.
And there was enough lines in that game. It was a video game. The length of the text of the script was as long as Gone with the Wind. It was
Wow.
supposed to be like, yeah, it was like a narrative adventure type thing. I recorded for months for that. And it was actually like the first gig that I had ever, like proper gig that I had ever booked from backstage.com, like back when voiceover gigs were still posted on that.
Yeah.
I'll be kind of vague about it because the devs keep saying it'll be released one day, it'll be released one day. But now at this point, I'm like, I've grown so much as a voice actor. I'm like scared to hear what I sounded like back then, but we'll
Right.
see. But it was I was the protagonist character, and she was LGBTQ.
Yeah.
She was a lesbian bassist, and she like had to solve a mystery or whatever. But there was lots of like testy interpersonal relations between her mom, between her former love interest, and it was like so heavy at some points, but it
Yeah.
was just really beautiful. And it was written obviously by a queer team, and they were really passionate about what they were doing. They just really struggled to find funding for it,
Yeah.
which is heartbreaking because it was incredible. And that's like not uncommon. A lot of some of the best work that you've ever done, some of the stuff that you're most proud of, will probably never see the light of day, especially if you love working with indies like I do.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we just got two little final questions. Is there any work, roles, or classes that you would like to share for any quote unquote aspiring voice actors?
Classes, no, because I will say the only platform that has quality classes that I'm aware of is like the Voice Actors Network, but
Yeah.
you can only get into have access, like they'll email whenever they drop like their list of classes for the month if you have work before. Like if you have to
Mm,
send in their resume and be considered for it, right?
yeah.
Which is infuriating, particularly now when the work that's available, particularly online and for indies starting out voice actors, is so minimal. So now
Yeah.
at this point, I'm like, I don't know how people get into that. But then also, Voice Actors Network, they're based in LA, obviously, because the pandemic restrictions have lifted. They're offering even less online classes, right?
Yeah.
Um, so there's maybe like one a month that they're doing now when there used to be like
Wow.
six that they were doing online. But I will say keep an eye out for specifically Andrea Toyas.
Okay.
She's the casting director for Blizzard Entertainment. I've taken a couple of her classes. I even took like the same one twice. She offers more than one, but I took the
Yeah.
same one twice because I just really wanted to brush up on my skills in one particular point. But she primarily does obviously video game classes, but hers she gives you like materials like handout like PDF files
Yeah.
of notes to keep in mind whenever you're auditioning, like actual like stuff that I learned in acting school.
Yeah.
She's giving that information to people, and it's the only class that I've ever been a part of that is actually a bang for your buck. A lot of classes I hate to say it, are honestly scams.
Yeah.
Because they'll call it a class, but it's really just sitting in front of the casting director at like there's a group of like 30 people, and in order to preserve class time, like you'll be given something to read, you'll get 1-2 takes of one line, and then they'll say, okay, good, next one. Maybe give like a teensy bit of feedback, and you've paid $200 for that.
Yeah.
Insane. No. Andrea Toya's like takes the time to work with people. Therefore, her classes like tend to run kind of long, like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
But I think that's great quality investment. I think I spent like 150 on the last one, but it's been a while. She might have changed her prices.
Yeah.
But hers is the best. You get materials to continue to work with after the fact. She gives you appropriate feedback in the room. Listening to everybody else is really helpful whenever she's giving them feedback, because you can apply it to, it's not bullshit. Her class is for real. And she usually posts them on her socials. I think she had Twitter, but I don't have Twitter anymore, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Follow her, look her up. She's the best bang for your buck.
Absolutely. So, final question that we have, just something that I personally like to ask. If you were to give a younger you a bit of advice from the experience that you've garnered all the way up to this point, what would you say to a younger you?
Oh, no one's your friend.
Oh,
Yeah, and that sucks. And that's so negative. I know, but it's true. And I so desperately wanted to build like true connection and community around voice acting, but a lot of people did not have that same mindset, and they're very good at seeming like they do have that same mindset.
yeah.
So protect your heart, be a little bit more guarded. It's work, and you are coworkers and you are peers, and that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
That.
Well, thank you so much for providing a voice and taking time out of your day to be able to do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Happy Voicing. I hope you enjoyed it, and remember, whether you're starting out or experienced, break a leg and happy voicing.